Hi, welcome back. We are going to be doing Hannah's route. We're going to see what happens when you actually live inside the cursed spooky house and see what's going on with her marriage. Spoilers, it's not good. There's a lot of problems. There's also some very awkward flirting, so get excited for all of that on this part of the letter. I'm Sasha, this is Enjoying Pixels, and let's get started. Yay! Hannah. It's far too easy to get them to pay attention, and we're like, whoa. I wasn't prepared. I wasn't prepared. Whoa, okay. I gotta take a minute. That was a lot. Hannah, sorry, not Hannah. Hannah. I don't remember what her voice sounds like, so she'll need to talk before I can do her voice again. It's far too easy to get them to pay attention, enraptured. They hang on to my every word and follow my every move. All of it would have been stifling had I not grown used to such stares. Most are respectful, some are hostile if we are honest, and a few are downright inappropriate. After all, I am...
Hannah Wright!
Whoa! There's a moment of agitation as a familiar but less than welcome face approaches me with a suggestive smirk on his face. Alright, so whose relationships? Let's check out Hannah's relationship tree. Oh. Why are we down with Luke? I like that we're starting off already down with Luke. Okay, cool. Of course I have to keep a benevolent smile and greet him as I greet any good friend. After all, this man can turn heads being famous in his own right.
Officer Lee!
There we go.
What a pleasant surprise. I didn't think you'd have the time to attend tonight's party.
He is more Luke's friend than mine, really, and I'm quite sure I only invited his wife. Much like I'm only friends with the chief inspector because of Luke, Luke is only friends with Rochelle because of me. Unlike how I treated Lee, however, Luke never had his animosity for the Lee matriarch. It was an odd sort of friendship where we would have awkward double dates. I don't even recall his first name. It started with an N, I think. I might be wrong. Aside from being chief inspector of Luxburn Police, his wife Rochelle Lee née Vance owned a General Electrics company, fridges and freezers mostly.
Oh, I always have time for my favourite socialite couple. Might I say, you look positively ravishing tonight.
Blech.
I see the husband isn't with you.
Blech. The way he eyes me up is enough to make my skin crawl. I just wish Luke was here to fend off the more unseemly of our peers. You know the ones. Men who are just a bit too friendly, staring too long at my assets, and getting close just because my husband is not here. And to think they have the gall to do this at my own party. In my own house, if I might add. But like any high society woman worth her salt, I know how to handle it with grace and dignity.
I suppose you are looking pleasant as well. Luke's busy with work, unfortunately. Rochelle isn't here?
A shame. I do hope he isn't causing you much trouble. That husband of yours can be a bit daft sometimes, acting like he's still some young bachelor.
You sound like you've had so many wines.
The wife sends her regards and her apologies, but something came up with a doctor and she needed to attend to it. You know her being pregnant and all.
That sounds like it might be important. We make small talk. Rather, I'm forced to do so as he would not leave my side after finding his place there. Much to my chagrin, I've been extricated from the few flock in hopes of flattering, for I can tolerate them far better than Lee. He is a nice enough person, and I adore his wife, who's obviously the brains behind the two. But there's something unsettling about him. I do not trust him as much as I want to. He regales to me tales of the Luxburn Police Department, a different affair to the usual gossip I am privy to, and though I loathe to admit it, it is interesting nonetheless. I expect the topic of business to die out quickly, which would be understandable enough due to the confidential nature of his work. But oh boy, was I wrong.
So, wearing civvies, I steal and drive off with one of the police mobiles, right? In the mirror, I see the new tank chasing on foot and screaming about theft. The look on his face was priceless when I parked it in the garage.
Oh my. You made him chase you all the way home for a prank. What did Rochelle have to say about that?
Rochelle has a strange love and hate affair with Lee. He's a married man who did not grow up past his early 20s, judging by the way he acts. Surprisingly enough, they've been married for a good 20 years. A lifetime if you compare it to my marriage of 7 years with Luke. I, on the other hand, well, Luke is no Lee. I should be happy about that, I suppose. Although my darling did have his moments.
Yeah, the wife pulled my ear and gave me a good talking to, though. Besides, we live in a flat a block away, so it wasn't much of a grand chase.
Weren't you living in a house near the countryside?
Moved for work, you know. Or you probably don't.
No, I don't. but a flat in downtown. I suppose if that's what you like.
Oh, it's horrid. Hate that tiny place, no matter how convenient it can be for work. 55 square yards are not enough when you need to get away from the wife.
Ugh.
I wouldn't mind a place away from the city. Even started looking at the ads. I spied an interesting lot, actually. Heard it was finally put up for sale. Or that something mansion, you know the one with all the ghost stories.
I know what he's talking about. There are really only a few urban legends around here. It's...
The Ermagerd Mansion?
That's the one. Worthy of a king it is. I'd buy it myself, but Rochelle would only gripe if I brought it up to her. Not to mention all the expenses a place like that will be a real fixer-upper. You also have to find someone willing to work there with how superstitious people can be.
If it becomes a problem, just hire someone to do an exorcism.
Why has nobody done that yet?
Actually, I do know of someone who could be up to the task. You remember the Ludgates party at their Christchurch summer residence?
Of course. It was an excellent soiree. Everything was so classy, too. Such good taste.
Oh, that place was a pigsty until they hired out this interior designer and they turned it into a bloody palace. She worked for the Exodus for their apartment in Soho too, and they recommended her when we were looking up pieces for our beach house in Porto Colom. I think I have a business card No, I must have left it in my other jacket. Anyway, she's called, what's her name, McCullough, Marianne, I believe, yes. But truly, if anyone were to get that place in McCullough, well, they'd be the envy and the talk of the town.
Well, if you put it that way, I might just snatch it up for myself. This place was starting to feel a bit small lately anyway.
Sure, a 3-story penthouse might not fit the description of small for some people. Okay, maybe a lot of people, but it isn't big enough to have grand parties in. As it is, I only invite about 30 people to this one and it already feels cramped in here. It certainly would be nice if I didn't have to ride an elevator up and down several floors before I could get anywhere as well. All Luke's words and not mine. Besides, I've been looking for a good anniversary gift. Luke might like this one. Where is he anyway? Friday. Luke is dressed to the nines as he usually is, and he looks ready for whatever the day will throw at him. His butler and valet waits at his side just in case he isn't as ready as he looks. Oh sure, that is normal. What's confusing me is the fact that he is on his way out of the penthouse, considering we won't have anywhere to go until much later.
Where are you going?
I am to attend the Triad Autumn tasting. I do believe I informed you of this 2 weeks ago.
Why can't she go with you? Wine tastings are fun.
Yes. And might I remind you that I had stricken that off your schedule? Because 1, the doctor told you to stop consuming so much alcohol.
I see.
And 2, I informed you a few days ago about the open house we are going to attend in its place.
Oh, that explains why he was in such a bad mood. Could have been drinking.
I've even found this marvelous interior designer, Mary Ann McCullough.
It's a 3.5-hour drive to Cardiff. I don't have time for this. This is like that little party you threw all over again. You don't inform me of it, and you expect me to stay and be a gracious host when I have business elsewhere. You know how I operate, Hannah. Unless this was penciled in, I am sticking to my schedule.
If I may intrude, the madam is correct. Your physician did insist you moderate your drinking, unless you wish to incur acute pancreatitis.
Wow, how much is he drinking?
And you did have this open house penciled in last Wednesday morning.
Bullocks, I don't remember doing so.
Well, you did. While very hungover, in fact.
He did. Moaned about me being too loud, but gave in after some pushing. Perhaps that was a bit too cruel and manipulative of me, but...
Whose side are you on?
Come on, Luke. You promised we'd do whatever I want this weekend.
Gordon Bennett, fine. I am giving this house tour of yours a chance. But if it proves to be a waste of time, I am going to Cardiff, and you are going to take a cab home.
Wow.
Are we clear?
It's just a bit of husband and wife tit for tat, isn't it? All couples have their arguments. Once the honeymoon phase is over, as they seem to call it, reality sets in that you and your partner might not always see eye to eye, or that you've married an... That's so creepy. So I just got a text here on my phone that is calling me Miss Isabella. It's a wrong number because it's asking about a red wine set and asking me if I'm Miss Isabella. That's so creepy. This game is cursed. 7 days. I mean, the wrong number. That's so creepy. Perhaps it has been the years. 7 of them is nothing to scoff at.
I just cannot bloody believe I agreed to this. I was really looking forward to the triad tasting.
I think you're an alcoholic, sir. Though sometimes I think it's something a bit more than just simple disagreements, and I have to stop myself from wondering where we went wrong.
There's always the Triad Christmas tasting in Manchester next month, and that'll only be an hour-and-a-half drive.
Have I been neglectful? Have I offended? Have I acted shamefully?
Yes, but Cardiff...
Certainly any problem can be discussed. As long as he doesn't turn me away.
Well, there goes my good mood. Are you happy now, Hannah?
Why must he treat me this way? Remain silent or defend yourself. Defend yourself.
Yes, I am very happy, Luke. Because for once in a very long time, we are doing what I want.
I mean, that didn't help, but I mean, saying nothing doesn't help either.
I'm ecstatic. Understood? And this would be perfect if you stop acting like a child who needs their nappy changed. We will be leaving after lunch for the Ermengarde mansion.
Oh, that plus our relationship. That's interesting. That's very interesting.
You are going to park your rear in the car and keep mum. And you are going to behave during the tour.
So he likes that she's like sassing him and bossing him around. Needless to say, Luke looks a bit shocked at my little outburst. He opens and closes his mouth a few times, struggling to reply before he crosses his arms to look like, well, a moping child.
Any more rules for this little excursion of yours, Your Highness?
No wine.
No wine? Unacceptable! I am already not allowed to the tasting, and you would deprive me of that simple pleasure?
If I see you take one sip today, I will put the stocks under lock and key. Do you understand me?
Okay, like, if you need to threaten that, and if he reacts like that to being told that he can't have something on this event, there's something wrong. Like, seriously.
Don't forget the bottles he keeps in his dresser.
Oh, wow. Like, is anybody going to address that this is a really serious problem?
Whose side are you on?
How many times in one day can you ask that?
As many times as I need you, traitor.
The ride to the mansion is quiet, with Luke having staring out the window the entire way, not paying attention to anything around him. Meanwhile, I'm conflicted. I don't know if I should apologize for changing his plans like that, but by the time we arrive at the mansion, I see his eyes light up in genuine interest. Apologizing is the last thing on my mind. The whole affair with the Ermengarde mansion is certainly an interesting experience. The place has been renovated and restored by the owners to what they claim to be acceptable standards. The mansion itself looks like something benefiting a fairy tale or a period piece. My accent is atrocious. I'm sorry, I can't stop doing it. I do like a weird head tilt when I do it too. It is tastefully decorated and with a bit of love and attention, I'm sure it can be a place Luke and I can call home. And the number of other prospective buyers that have come from the powerful and wealthy of Luxbourne certainly do not disappoint, making the estate a prime property. The Lees are amongst the group who went with the Rose woman, and I saw a few other notable faces, though I did not really feel like mingling. Unfortunately for every one of them, the Wrights are interested in buying. What's been bugging my mind, however, is that Isabel. Oh, is that supposed to be her looking under the weather? Because she doesn't look that under the weather. So she really doesn't know her name then. Okay, it's good to know.
What is her problem? I don't see where her husband's hand is. It's just kind of low-key hovering. There's some intense hover-handage happening. I still don't quite understand what is happening. One moment she's scrambling to give us the paperwork to finalize the sale. Then she's panicking over some sort of prank letter or another. The second thing in my mind is how touchy my darling husband is being towards the poor dear. I cannot even plaster a smile on my face, a horrid scowl taking its place. There is no way I can pretend nothing is wrong as I hum.
And I'm sure little Lily here would certainly appreciate it if you remove your pretty hands from her, darling.
Is he calling her Lily because he's drunk? Because he clearly has a problem. He is quick enough to detract his hand, which is all that the girl needs to, well, for lack of a better word, escape.
I think I need to step out for a while. I'll be back.
Her partner follows, shouting after her without hesitation. There's an awkward air among us as we are left in the wake of whatever that was. Nothing good. It was nothing good.
The others murmur and gossip with each other, speaking of the poor daft girl and telling the tale of whoever was not audience to the act in the first place. It doesn't take too long for the woman, Rose, to return and pull us aside into the study for what I rightfully assume is damage control. Rose invites Marianne in too, hoping to apologize to her as well. But the woman refuses, saying she is not one of her clients anyway. That leaves myself, Rose, and Luke, the last all too eager to make himself comfortable in the study he's no doubt already claimed as his own.
I can't apologize enough about what just happened. Please forgive Isabella.
Will you remember her name? That would be super nice if you could.
She's been under a lot of pressure lately. She's young and all those rumors about this being haunted just got to her head.
I mean, it is pretty haunted.
And it must be this terrible heat, too. Not a drop of rain for days now.
That, falling down the stairs. I'm sure that didn't help either. But, whatever, it's fine.
Oh, it's fine. The poor girl must feel so embarrassed about what she just did. But I say, let bygones be bygones. After all, she's only a child.
I see what you're trying to do, Hannah.
She looked, 19?
Luke.
I shoot Luke an accusing look at these words. After all, he tried flirting with the girl. The nerve of him! And not only that Isabel girl, but also Marianne and Rose too. What kind of husband would think that's even a remotely good idea to make moves on 3 different women when his wife stands there?
A cad, that too.
Did he drink while I wasn't looking?
That's my question.
She's a bit older than that.
That's not the point.
But again, I apologize. And if there's any way I can make up for what just happened, just...
I know what you can do. Be a darling flower and get us one of those bottles you plan to serve.
You have a problem.
Pop it open.
We were planning on serving some champagne. I can get that.
He will probably take anything.
That would be lovely. Much obliged.
Do you want a glass as well, Ms. Wright?
Oh no, I'm fine.
And now she's trapped because she doesn't want to make a scene. Well played, Luke. Well played.
I really shouldn't be drinking right now.
Hint, hint.
And Luke shouldn't be either. But right now I'm just too tired for any sort of argument. I don't have the heart to scold him in public as well. I'm certainly not his mother. I just want to get this horror date done with, go home and sleep. Perhaps I'll even have a strong cuppa before I head off to bed. Yes, that sounds nice. When Rose comes back with the champagne, I beckon her over. As I have told her partner before, I have every intent of acquiring this house. I might as well, even if I'm having second thoughts about getting it for Luke. The moment we, the Wrights, had expressed interest in this place, we've had eyes set on us. If we don't buy it, that might as well be the signal to have busybodies gossip about how we may or may not have lost our fortune.
Because, you're not allowed to change your mind. No, it has to be that your fortune's gone.
Regardless of the fact that his false image is everything when dealing with these people. These are the unspoken rules for people such as ourselves. And besides, I really did like the place. Why, everything here is absolutely wonderful. Well, except that ugly painting in that study. It looks like a bad fake of an Edvard Munch painting.
Here's the deal. I'm willing to pay 10% higher than your listing price.
Why would you think that that was just a painting in the study? Like, look at everything else. You're like, yes, but also this horror piece. It's quite clear that these aren't horror heads or something like that. Like, why would you just be like, oh yeah, all these nice portraits, the horrible, ghost painting? Especially if a place was haunted or rumored to be haunted and I saw something like that, no thank you.
If anyone tries to outbid us, just add another 5%. I doubt anyone can, of course. Or, you know what? Just add 15% to the listing price and we can sign all the paperwork now.
I guess, if that's what you want. That won't be any trouble. I don't have all the papers now. Didn't think this would be a quick sell.
Why would you say that? Look at her face. She's like, ah.
I'll have copies sent to you so you can look over them. And if you'd still like to finish the rest of the tour with Isabella's group, you're more than welcome to.
No, I think we're good here. We'd appreciate a private tour of the place a lot more, I think.
Yeah, just buying a house that you haven't seen all of sounds good.
All right. Should I let Marianne in, then?
Marianne? Oh, right. She's been waiting outside the study this whole time, hasn't she? I'll need to have a little chat with her to move this little mansion project forward.
Please do.
There's a look of apprehension when the other woman enters the study. Yet, like a professional, I see the moment when she steels herself and masks her worry. Admirable.
we have this project then?
Of course. Will you be needing anything from us?
Lots.
Having the floor plans would be a great start, just so that I can look at them beforehand. And if you could tell me when you're available for a meeting so that I can include it in my calendar?
Oh, is a meeting really all that necessary, Marianne?
Yes, for a project of this size, 100%.
I guess we can send Johans to help you out. You two can start
maybe
by getting
jump.
rid of this
I knew it was
painting.
there. A hush falls upon the room at my request.
What painting?
And lo and behold, the painting is gone. I can't believe it got me. I saw it before. In its place, a mirror stands, which leaves me to look at my own confused expression.
Odd. Well, no matter. Back to the topic at hand. Marianne, dear, we are simply far too busy to meet up.
You need that. Gets the heart pumping. Lets you know it's still working. You feel alive. Or perhaps maybe I should free up my schedule or question the need for a meet. No. I mean, if you want this house, like, free up your schedule. Like, what are you doing anyway?
But I guess we can free up a day to meet with you. I don't really need another maudlin Monday reading about Maury anyway. The book club can function without me for one day.
You see? It was a book club. That person driving by is ruining the ambiance of the horror.
What time shall we be seeing each other? How does lunch sound?
Besides, my house has a high priority over book club. Why, we can hold the next meeting in this place. Surely the beauty and grandeur of it all will inspire spirited and lively debates about whether modern-day writers could match up to the classics. I might as well clear up the rest of my week to handle whatever affairs buying this mansion requires of me. Any social activity can be put off until the Ermengarde, or rather, the Wrights mansion's grand debut. I'll have my fill of great parties and gatherings, especially when I organise them myself.
That sounds good. Although, with a project of this scope, we might need most of the day to tackle your concerns. A more thorough inspection of the place is also preferable.
Breakfast then. It's a date.
It's really not.
But, you know, I see that blush.
All right. Monday. 10 o'clock sharp.
She wouldn't have minded. Maybe not with Hannah, though.
We'll see you then.
Actually, Marianne suggested that we meet at 9, but who is even awake at that unholy hour?
Lots of people.
I was lucky enough to wake up this morning before Luke went off all the way to Cardiff. We say our goodbyes, shake hands, and make it clear without outright saying it that we now own this house. By the time we left the mansion's grounds, sunset is almost upon us.
So, you really want to buy this place then?
I mean, what else are we doing?
That's a bit of a big impulse buy, even coming from you. Not that I'm complaining.
Well, I'm glad you're not complaining like you usually do.
Marriage is rough.
It's a right and proper Christmas miracle, isn't it? Hannah has finally done something right.
A lot of resentment happening in this car.
I refuse to look at him, staring at the passing scenery instead.
Hey, Buttercup, what's with this cheek?
Rose, Lily, Mint. The nerve, Luke, the nerve!
The nerve!
Is that what this was about? One, that woman's name was Rose.
You don't get to say anything. You called the other one Lily.
And two, you know I don't mean a word of that empty flirting.
And it's still the principle of things, Luke. I understand if you try to woo them to get what you want when it seems that I'm not looking. But I told you once before not to do it when I'm there.
Luke dealt with other women in the past to get what he wanted. Sometimes I have my doubts. I really want to believe that I'm an exception, that he is not just using me like how he used those other girls. I'm having a hard time believing that now. And it isn't just the shameless flirting. There's something about that Marianne woman, as if Luke is familiar with her. As much as it shames me, it makes jealousy rear its ugly head. I'm, suffice to say, ticked off.
Really? I forfeit my trip to Cardiff for this, and you're still not happy.
I mean, drag kicking and screaming is not really the same as forfeited.
Oh, trust me, Luke. I am very happy. Very happy that, for once, we are doing something that I want. Can you not see the smile on my face?
It is only when I let loose those words that the truth hits me like a slap in the face. And by the looks of it, it seems to have the same effect on my dear darling husband. It has always been, Luke wants to do this and Luke wants to do that, hasn't it? I don't even remember the last trip we went to, which was of my own choosing, without needing to get the man's approval. On the other hand, I was pulled along to every single expedition he wished to tackle, and I never objected. The rest of the ride home we spent ignoring each other, pretending the other didn't exist. Arriving at our penthouse, my first order of business is to get into bed. Forget hot bath and forget the tea. I just want to bury myself in blankets and forget everything in my slumber. It seems that Luke has the same idea in mind as he tags along behind me. But this is something I will not allow the moment that I pass through the door.
Out.
What the bloody hell, woman? This is my bedroom too!
Oh my god. Draco, calm down. Luke stands flabbergasted as I deny him entry into our chambers. His pillows lie on the cold, tiled floors away from the warmth of our soft down bed, and my gaze promises him the same fate if he does not budge on this matter.
Don't even try to argue, because I am very cross with you, Luke Wright.
Cross?
You can take the second bedroom or the guest room if you wish, but I do not want to see you at all for the rest of the night.
Johans!
Our butler wanders over, a curious expression on his face. He doesn't quite hurry, moving at a relaxed pace no matter how angry his master sounds.
No, you are not allowed to sleep in my room, sir.
Has that happened before? I have questions.
That's not what I mean! Help me talk some sense into her!
There is no sense in questioning her right to be angry, sir. So, if I might be excused, I'll go prepare the second bedroom for you.
I just noticed that their wall painting is a giant glass of wine. Luke!
I have to keep a straight face as he stomps away in defeat.
Mutiny! This is mutiny! The system is being upturned, and the people are rioting, and everything is left asunder.
Everybody is rioting. Panic in the streets.
It isn't every day that Luke is rendered speechless by someone he considers inferior or to yield to another authority without an ulterior motive.
Also, I mean, he wasn't speechless. There was nothing speechless about Luke.
His pride just won't allow it. I do keep telling the man to treat his people better. He may throw whatever fit he wants, but he will not be getting his way tonight. Victorious, I celebrate by jumping face first onto our bed. Undignified, yes, but nobody is here to judge me anyway. Right? Nobody's here to tell me what to do. Yet as I succumb to sleep, I can hear them whisper to me. I can hear them whispering. Help me. Calling for me. They want me. Need me. They drown me, pull me down, and suffocate me in their embrace until I sink to the bottom. A deep abyss awaits, inviting, yet foreboding. They're calling to me from in there, aren't they? And I do want to help, I do. But when I try to reach out, something pulls me back like a hook, sinking itself into my stomach.
Well, you knew that one was coming. That was no painting.
And I break through the surface with a gasp. Alone in bed and without Luke to hog the covers, I'm swathed in cloth and slicked with sweat. It takes me a while to untangle myself and kick them all off. Both the bed and I are a right mess by the end of it all, but I am more than eager to just get up and go out for some fresh air. Wednesday. The days past had gone by a blur. We hadn't talked much, Luke and I, outside of necessity. In fact, we've hardly talked beyond the topic of acquisitions of properties. Properties being the mansion, of course. Everything has been so busy that I haven't talked to anyone outside of business, and it's just so stressing. Someone can understand my need for a good chat, preferably over a good meal. There are times when any decent, emotionally healthy and socially capable person needs a good friend. Needs. Should be an S there. One who will talk to them without the conversation degrading or turning into an argument. Oh, barring a nearby friend, I have an interior designer under a confidentiality agreement to listen to me.
Up, higher, come on now.
Oh, Luke. The place is bustling with movers carrying furnishings here and there, along with several trunks of personal belongings taken from our penthouse. I can hear Luke barking at them in the other room, making sure nothing is handled carelessly or gets stolen.
/ being a, really abusive boss. That's also what he's doing.
Careful now. I know your pictures are framed by cheap plastic, but those are framed by African blackwood and are one-of-a-kind commissioned paintings. Each one is easily worth a lifetime of what you lot make.
It's gonna be interesting when we finally play as Luke. Like, are we gonna redeem Luke in this game? Because right now, Luke, stop.
The walls did not do a good job of muffling him at all.
Well, it's a very old house, so it would not do that.
But then again, it is Luke. I would still hear him ranting if we were on the opposite sides of the mansion and I'm wearing earplugs.
I'd really like to thank you for inviting me to breakfast, Mrs. Wright, but I already ate, so I should really go back to work.
Nonsense! You arrived so early. You must not have gotten a proper meal.
Some people, are really prepared and meal plan and eat and just have their lives together.
Our butler has made a surprisingly lovely bubble and squeak. Sit. I'd situate us in the dining hall, but it is a mess right now. Oh, Johans!
The man in question appears ready with a tray as he starts to set the table for us. We sit in silence as we are each served a plate. Bubble and squeak, topped by a nicely poached egg with cherry tomatoes and other garnishes adorning the edges of the plate. A cup and a saucer and a teapot with some Earl Grey is placed down for Marianne, and I ask for an orange Julius.
How are you liking the project?
But is the Earl Grey hot? That's what matters.
Drop that vase and I'll have your head. I know it's only an 8 million yen vase, but I swear I'll...
Well, it's certainly a fun challenge, incorporating the designs of a Jacobean manor and the functionality of a modern household. I have ideas I would like to suggest, by the way, about what to use the second bedroom for.
I love Marianne's gloves. I'd love to be a glove person, but my hands get too sweaty.
I have been informed of your goddaughter and thought a kid-friendly room might be in order.
You read my mind. I was actually going to bring that up. Oh, that would just be so lovely, Marianne. That way, Kylie can bring her friends over as well. And a good friend of mine, Rochelle, is expecting a baby. So, why don't we think about putting a crib in there too? I can just imagine little ones running around, filling this place with the pitter-patter of their feet. We'd have to make sure they don't trip and fall on the stairs, though.
We won't be able to finish everything up until after the party. But we'll have it ready by then, so that all we need to do is to move in the furnishings.
You know this stuff is going to go down at this party. Like, it's not just going to be a fun, happy party.
Yes, that's plenty fine. It's not like we're in a hurry to have it. And we wouldn't want the workers to disturb the guests or the other way around, do we? Just make sure it's presentable. You know, in case a guest snoops about.
Of course. As for the kitchen you wanted, I've already negotiated for the high-end stoves and the hot and cold drawers, so on and so forth. I've got a friend who was able to customize them so that they'll look like the counters we'll be replacing and fit the rest of the interior. They'll be bringing them in today.
Why can't you people do anything right? Don't drag it. You'll scratch the wood.
I'm never prepared for Luke.
Excellent. But no, really, how have you liked it so far?
Oh, it has been wonderful, believe me. Everything is going smoothly too. It has been a long time since I've worked on something on this grand a scale. Nowadays, everyone is about condos and flats, living in the city where every room is an identical box. Believe me, this is very refreshing.
We lived in a condo before this, Marianne.
I didn't mean any insult.
It's fine, sweetie. Look at you, all frazzled. I was just pulling your leg.
That's not nice or professional.
Luke wanted that penthouse when we got married, and you can thank him for purchasing this place as well.
She looks confused. Of course, she has every right to be. She no doubt overheard me push that estate agent into the sale, making quite the aggressive offer. She saw me sign the papers for the mansion as well. I just had to scoff.
Don't be fooled. I'm just the treasury.
But Luke didn't want this house. I'm confused, like Marianne.
I wouldn't be able to make a purchase this grand without his seal of approval.
I see.
This is so awkward. Like, this is not her job.
That's it. That's all you have to say.
Yes. It wouldn't be appropriate to comment further.
She's right. Like, just let her do her job. Why are you doing this?
It is unprofessional.
It is. Thank you, Marianne. I appreciate you.
Unprofessional.
I can't help but let out a deep sigh as I stick a fork into the dish. I didn't want professional. I want someone who will agree with me, even if it's just for the sake of agreeing, or someone who will try to talk some sense into me. Neutral responses are so boring. There's no discourse in the middle ground.
Okay, firstly, that last sentence is, patently untrue, and secondly, she's not being neutral and boring. She's being professional and trying to keep her job. Like, what if she says the wrong thing and you're like, what? How dare you? Fired. She clearly loves this project. She doesn't want to mess it up. This is just a terrible position for Marianne.
The food is good. Best bubble and squeak.
Marianne's like, send help.
Of course it is. Our kitchen staff only uses the freshest hand-picked ingredients. Only the best for the rights.
Mr. Wright is not joining us?
Thank God.
No, he is far too busy bossing people around. He even refused to join me for breakfast earlier. Hence, this.
I'm sure he had something for breakfast, but it was probably liquid.
I see. My apologies. I really don't know what sort of response you expect to get from me.
Oh, poor Marianne.
There's a clatter of silverware as I slam my hands on the table. It is frustrating. I am frustrated. At Luke, mostly. But Marianne's neutral professional answers are certainly irksome as well.
You're a human with feelings and opinions, aren't you? Don't give me this bollocks about being professional when we're having a nice friendly chat over a nice and friendly breakfast. I can only talk about interior designs for so long, and I detest one-sided conversations, Marianne.
Oh, God.
But I really don't know what to say, Mrs. Wright.
Her hug her coat. She's like, please.
We were talking of no topic in particular, and...
Luke. We were talking about Luke.
It's getting worse. The hole's getting bigger.
About him not eating breakfast with you?
About him treating me as if I were some treasury.
Bang. I didn't realize that I shouted that out loud until it's too late. There's a stunned silence that settled before I slumped back into my seat. Hiding my face behind my hands, I can feel my shoulders shake. Breathe. I tell myself, calm down. But it's just so hard.
Honestly, sometimes I feel like he doesn't love me anymore. Oh, have I been so blind? Did he ever love me at all? Was our marriage all for the sake of saving his company and his wealth?
I mean, maybe. Hold on. We didn't read her profile yet, did we? After this conversation, we'll go and read her profile for all the deets.
Because?
Did I say all that out loud again? No, this is bad. Unacceptable. It has been rumored before the real reason for our engagement, but if anyone were to know of this... Marriages of necessity to carry on political and financial power used to be a common thing, but the Evans-Wrights union is the perfect happily ever after. Was supposed to be. It is true that we first met each other in order to discuss dealings to make the then-failing Wright Enterprises subsidiary for Evans Incorporated. But I do remember being in love with him, and there were times when he said he loved me back. Even though I'm not sure of what the truth is now. Either way, I do not want the Wright name or the Evans name dragged through the mud because of a slip-up. And if Marianne so much as talked of this, threaten me, or ask for a... No, I'm not threatening Marianne. This poor woman got invited to this breakfast and ambushed just out the wazoo. Plus, she's been nothing but professional this entire time in every interaction we've seen with her. So I think she'll respond well if we're more cordial and not just insane and threatening her. So ask for silence. Marianne is a good sort, isn't she? So far, she's been reasonable and accommodating even towards Luke's ridiculous requests. And mine. Patient and professional? Did it only extend to business? Or would she be able to understand that things like this are not as simple, not as clean as they are painted to be? Certainly I can talk to her. Ask for her.
I won't speak a word, Mrs. Wright. Not only am I contractually obliged to, it would also go against my principles.
So far, your best girl, Marianne.
This is no one else's business but your own, and it should be kept between the two of you. And whoever you wish to seek counsel from.
Not me, please.
Please, Marianne. You have to understand. These sort of affairs, if anyone were to know this, they could just twist it and we'll be ruined. All I ask for is your silence on the matter.
If I am to be frank, Mrs. Wright, this isn't new for me. You aren't the first, and you certainly won't be the last to have complicated dealings. Unless what you're doing is illegal, I turn a blind eye.
Curses too. Don't even look at those.
Can I trust her?
If I wasn't in the same boat, I'd be trying to pry those secrets and gossip with you about them by now.
Well, I'm keeping that information confidential as well.
It's not like I have any other choice, do I?
Thank you.
We continue to eat our meal in peace, finishing the last of our food and drink. When the door to the parlor opens, Marianne and I are just sitting in silence.
Madam, the photographer from Luxury Living is here.
I give him nothing but a small nod.
This was a wonderful meal, Marianne. You're free to return to your duties.
Marianne just barrel rolls out of the room.
I must excuse myself.
It was my pleasure. And thank you for the food as well.
Making my way downstairs, I look back and see Marianne give me a small nod and a small smile. That certainly put me in lighter spirits. An interview with Luxury Living.
But before we do that, let me look at this journal, because we did not talk about, like, where is her profile? Hannah Wright, née Evans. Let's take a look. I'm so bright right now. This journal is just watching me out. Okay, Taurus, 31 years old, 5'7", an heiress, former finance manager, British, Anglican, being given a terrible accent by me. I'm sorry, Hannah. Master. See, I'm slipping in and out now. Masters in Business Administration, major in accounting, like Boulebas. Dogs, fashion, parties and dancing, the beach, children, iconic woman, charity, and math. Let's read her bio. Of the Luxborn upper class, Hannah is used to living a life of luxury. Absent parents made her crave for attention, though, something she gained from her private tutors and nannies instead. It was never enough, however. She studied hard in order to make her parents proud, going into business so that she could work alongside them. The challenge in her otherwise privileged life was certainly a thrill for her at the very least. She had many suitors, dating different men and women, but it was through that work that she met Luke. It was love at first sight for her. Upon her parents' death, Luke proposed to her. That was the move that led to the merging of Wright Enterprise and Evans Incorporated and her subsequent retirement. Their 7-year marriage is strained, but Hannah tries her best to make it work. I mean, there's some bitterness going on here. She seems to miss doing things and working and just, I don't know. I think this marriage might have started off on shaky ground. Let's keep it going.
That is today, isn't it? Oh, yes. People had caught wind of our new mansion the very moment we left the open house. Luke had boasted he could acquire the property in no time and allowed a photo shoot for an interior design magazine to be scheduled today. Well, there were complications, and it took longer than it usually does for us. Hopefully I won't have any other unfortunate slip-ups with someone who isn't bound by confidentiality. The mansion grounds have been one of the first things to be fixed aside from the bedroom. Although it's still a work in progress, it had a promising start, and I can already see the flower patches. Luke's favourite daffodils stand out easily, having been transplanted from the pots that used to litter the rooftop of our penthouse. Why, if the moving crew thought that Luke was being hard on them, they clearly didn't see the landscape on his way out. The man looked like he was ready to faint, and Luke seemed ready to kill him by the end of their discussion. It's in the gardens that I see him, standing near the flowers in quiet admiration. He is hard to miss, the hulk of a man.
He's 6 feet. Why is everybody like this giant?
That clearly did not belong, and that big backpack and suitcase he has with him make him look much larger. It is a peculiar sight, seeing someone who looks like he does, handling little delicate things with such care.
It's a regular size camera, and he is a regular size man.
He looks up from the gardens, does a double take before a friendly face replaces his serene expression.
Miss Wright, yeah? Hi, Zachary Steele here from Luxury Living, ma'am.
Zach, you have the best name and the best attitude.
Hope you weren't waiting too long. But it looks like you're still moving in, huh? Thought for a second there my calendar was wrong and I came here too early.
The one and only.
Look at her blushing. She loves the hulk of man.
Welcome, welcome to Maison de Wright. And yes, we've been in the process of moving in as we were delayed, but it won't be a problem. They're just adding a few things here and there, and you should still be able to do your work. Where's the rest of your crew then, Mr. Steele?
Zach is fine, please. Mr. Steele makes me feel like I'm a mascot for a cleaning product.
My last name was Steele. Everybody would call me Steele all the time. Mr. Steele this, Mr. Steele that.
Anyway, I'll be your one-man crew for today. Don't worry, been doing this gig for a while now.
You must be quite the veteran to handle this on your own. We've had a full crew coming into our penthouse the last time we were covered in your magazine.
Veteran? Oh, your words are too kind, Miss Wright.
Hannah, if I get to call you Zach, you have my permission to call me Hannah.
Alrighty then. Anyway, I'm no veteran, but I know my camera well enough to make sure this is a good shoot. You can trust me on that, Miss Wright. Hannah.
Zachary proves quickly enough that I can in fact trust him. His skills with the camera and experience in this industry are at the very least. He is kind and courteous, listening and following as I lead him around the house. A really nice fellow, and he treats our household staff well whenever we cross paths with them. I answer his questions to the best of my ability, and he is patient enough to answer mine whenever I get curious enough. For I ask what the bags are for. They are quite the magician's toolkit. From inside, he has procured several items to embellish the interior with. Bowls of fruit, lemons, trays of peppermills, stacks of cookbooks, cutting boards, and glass canisters filled with colourful nuts, and grains are brought in for a kitchen setting. For the bathroom, there are white towels, seashells, and decorative soaps. There are other things as well, too numerous to count, all in that large backpack and suitcase.
Tricks of the trade. Softens up a room, makes a place feel more homey, and fills it up with texture.
Also makes it look samey and makes people seek out the same items, then they order them because they see them in the magazine. I know your game.
But you guys probably have better stuff I can use for this.
No lights. Don't tell me all of these are just props.
Well, I've got my tripod here. For things like these, natural light is best. I'll just have to set the shutter speed to a real slow setting, and as long as nobody steps into the shot, it'll look great.
Oh, it better.
We go through the rooms one at a time, although we first tackle the ones that the movers have no business in anymore. The ballroom needs little preparation with its grand design. Although there's some trouble at first with the wide open space and the pictures being backlit. It is in the kitchen that Zachary's props come in handy, considering how Johann's kept the place so neat and sterile, one can practically eat off the floor. We carry on touring the house and taking pictures where we can, with exceptions to the rooms which have yet to gain any purpose or design. Too bad I can't take a sneak peek at his photos yet. Funnily enough, he's using a traditional camera. I didn't even know film still existed. Hannah! With the way he speaks, however, I can see that he knows enough about his craft that I'm not too worried about botched photographs. I imagine photography must be cathartic for him, judging by how easy he looks while taking pictures. There are small snippets of conversation in between the clicking of the camera. He even goes far as to talk about those terminologies like shutter speeds and aperture when I ask about the technical aspects. I can't quite see the picture as it is made, much like when I watch artists paint on their canvas. But just watching someone passionately practicing their craft such as this is exciting in its own way. Going through the many rooms has been quite the exercise for the both of us. Despite that, he's been so nice, and I find myself putting on my best smile. But it is as we're taking pictures in the foyer that everything comes to a standstill for a moment. Just a moment.
There's a nice picture he's getting, though, with the staircase and stuff. Chic. Honk? How dare you?
And had I not been paying attention, I wouldn't have even noticed. It is merely a split second when Zachary's rhythm is put to a halt. His finger doesn't move to release the shutter.
Well, he can't use that photo, can he?
Yet he also doesn't pull the camera away from his face, gaze still firmly fixed through the viewfinder. His hands shake and there's a sheen of sweat on his forehead.
Zachary?
No response.
Zach, is something the matter?
Yeah, like the Ring/Grudge girl, she's behind you.
Lowering his camera, he blinks and stares at something behind me before shaking his head. Turning around, though, I see nothing that could have gotten his attention.
Oh, no, there's nothing wrong. I just remembered something I saw. Let's get back to the pictures.
I do like all the subtle motions in this game, it's nice.
Can you move a bit more to the left, yeah?
Away from the ghost? That'd be great.
I struggle to respond this time. There's a sudden weight on my back and an indescribable tightness around my throat. Everything stops. And everything starts again as I manage to choke out.
If you're sure.
I don't know what just happened. It was probably just a dizzy spell. I'm fine. And he said he's fine. We continue at the same pace as before, although there's an unspoken agreement that we will not talk about what happened.
So, is this a full-time job for you then?
The music's happy again, so you know it's all good. It's A-okay.
Nah, I just freelance mostly, for magazines, newspapers, and events. So you can't really call it a full-time job. It's fun and it puts food on the table, but it's not what I really want to do.
I don't know if that's what the person who you're taking photographs of wants to hear at that moment.
At least, not all the time.
What is it that you want to do then?
Maybe I've been out of line, sticking my nose into other people's business, but I can't help but ask. I regret doing so as I see his shoulders slump and the easygoing air he has fades away. He looks torn over whether he wants to talk about it or not.
Films. Documentaries mostly. But cinematography is a lot more difficult than photography, right? I was working on this thing, actually.
What thing?
Okay, but the reviews were like about the content. They weren't about, at least not the ones that Rebecca quoted. Like, was it badly shot? Because that's different than if they just didn't like the content.
Well, it wasn't really a big thing.
Just
People
a
didn't
film
like Blue
festival.
Foncé very much.
Bleu français? On parle français maintenant? C'est le temps pour moi.
People don't like a film about colours.
Yeah, they don't like dark blue.
I suppose they would have liked Blue Baby a lot more.
Bébé, Hannah. Bébé.
Very funny.
So, Grand Director, do you want to tell me what Bleu Foncé is all about?
Le français.
He hesitates. But when I refuse to budge on the matter, he gives in and spills it all out.
Bleu français, l'heure la plus sombre des noirs britanniques. Dark blue, the darkest hours of the black British. Why was his title French? I have a question, like, if it's about the British, then why is his title French? Do I have to agree with the reviewers? Was it French just to be bougie and pretentious? Parce que français, elle belle langue.
He speaks with passion of one who has gone through the very matter he's concerned with. There's conviction, knowledge, and experience in his speech. Why, I would have told him that he is an amazing speaker if only I wasn't so engrossed listening. Prejudice and discrimination in schools and in the workplace. Lesser chances for opportunity and higher chances of being treated like a criminal. He spoke of blacks and people of color in general still being treated like second-class citizens, all because of the color of their skin. It is all just positively riveting. I don't know if riveting is the word I'd use, Hannah. Riveting. And sad. Yeah, and sad, but that was the afterthought. It comes to a point where he soon loses steam. He looks abashed, realizing what he had done.
Sorry, I just got so carried away and...
It's fine. It is really so fascinating to watch people talk about their passion after all.
I don't know if discrimination is his passion or filming.
You should see how your eyes light up when you speak so fiercely. You do have very beautiful eyes.
NANI?
What in what he was saying led to this? What in his, like, prejudice, discrimination, the history? She's like, yeah, that's really unfair. Into it.
Uh-huh. Thanks, I guess.
I want to say that I understand where he's coming from, but I really don't, do I? I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth and I've lived a charmed life. It hasn't been perfect, but the difficulties I've been through pale in comparison to what others experience on a daily basis. I certainly don't know how I would have fared were it any different. Would I still have met Luke, and would he still have loved me if I was any lesser? Any lesser? Hannah, I hope you don't mean it like that, and that's just poor phrasing.
What was your home like? These things you talk about. It sounds like you've...
I'm not recovered.
Well, I don't mean to pry, I mean.
Live with my older sister and my grandparents. We had a shop selling all sorts of things below our flat. And well, I was one of the few non-white, non-British students in class. I didn't get pushed around or anything straight up. Even then, I was one of the biggest kids around. But a pencil and notebook would go missing, you know?
Oh, that I knew. Children can be so cruel at times. Of course, it may be a slightly different story when you had personal guards and the stolen item is not a pencil, but an expensive heirloom.
So what about you? How you liking your new house? It's pretty impressive.
It's nice, I suppose.
This is why you don't impulse buy things. The regrets.
You suppose? Not big enough?
What? No, oh, don't be a bully. It's just that...
I understand if you don't want to talk about it.
I was a little girl, all dolled up and treated like fragile porcelain, with nursemaids waiting to be hand and foot. All the material possessions anyone could ever want, I could ask for on a whim, and it would be handed to me just like that. But I barely saw my parents, just goodbye kisses in the morning before they went off to who knows where they were needed to next. I saw them more often on the telly or on the papers than I ever did in person.
I remember my old house. It was a lot like this one. Big walls and big halls, but nobody in it. Not really. It makes you think how alone you are.
A pensive mood overcomes us. And there's a moment when neither of us are sure of how to go on from there. Things have gotten a bit too personal, yet it isn't wholly uncomfortable, like as if we've been friends before.
Well, that's normal, ain't it? You just moved here. You'll make home out of it yet.
He certainly makes it easy to believe that. My childhood house is indeed a lot like this one. Just as large and extravagant, and just as empty. I hope he's right.
So, Monsieur le Photographe, you've covered the one and only Ermengarde mansion. What's next on the agenda?
The interview?
Boring. It's an interior design and housing magazine.
And they want to know what Miss Wright has to say about her interior design and house.
Hannah Wright thinks she bought a magnificent house that she can certainly brag about. Blah, blah. Boring. You know what they should print more of? I watched an interesting documentary the other day. Bleu Foncé, The Darkest Hours of the Black British. I recommend you watch it.
So just gonna lie? Just gonna positive review bomb Hannah?
Those are the things that people should know about.
You didn't watch it just like Isabella didn't.
What do they care if I use a purple or green bowl of fruit in my kitchen?
People, right?
Oui. People are What do you think? Do I look good with this angle?
I strike a pose while he's being busy, looking taken aback for a moment, probably not expecting me to just go and say such a cross word. But he recovers quickly, and after snapping a few shots, he grins.
Yeah, vous êtes belle. You want copies of these ones?
Yes, please. So, the big boy knows French.
I mean, he made the title of his film.
You must have wooed a few ladies. Unless you're into gents. Either way, French is, after all, the language of romance.
Oh, I don't know about quoting fancy poetry, but I've made lunch for a girl before, and they did like that fancy French cuisine.
Can you cook your best?
I can cook just about anything as long as I know the recipe.
C'est magnifique.
It has been too long since I've had a nice and proper chat with a good friend. No, Lee is certainly not a good friend. And although we've just met, Zachary's the sort who can probably befriend anyone. He's just a comfortable person to be around with. A bit too comfortable. The photo shoot went by a breeze. And somewhere along the way as we talk and laugh, I found myself getting a bit too close without realizing. He'll give me this strange look until I back off, and he'll go back to asking questions after I agree to do his little interview. And it's just odd. Well, no. Me being friendly isn't that odd, that is how I am. Zachary is the one that's being odd. Why anyone else would absolutely welcome the extra attention I give them. He, on the other hand, looks almost flustered about it. He should be used to different personalities by now, having to deal with various people when he works. And if not, he needs to start. Perhaps nobody has shown him attention of this kind, but he's such a big boy. He should be able to handle me. I hate everything. All it is a friendly touch here, a pretty smile there, a gentle swaying of the hips as I move around. Zachary grew more and more red every time he noticed, so it can't be that gentle of a sway, a tidal wave to the side each time. Am I being mean as I find enjoyment in seeing him unravel? Yes. It's not nice to make people uncomfortable. Perhaps. This went on during the interview and beyond that. There's nothing wrong with what we're doing, right? Zachary and I are just having a playful, friendly chat while enjoying the outside view. It's not playful and friendly if he's not reciprocating. Like, if it's not a tit-for-tat thing, then no. Also, stop cheating. At least that's how I see it.
I'm sorry, but I'm really getting distracted. Could you maybe stop doing that?
Oh, Zach. Stop. I'm not sure if I want to, though. I mean, I personally would like to, but based on the type of person that Hannah is, I don't feel like she would. Like, just given everything. So, I'm so sorry, Zach. Just every time, it's just like, won't go to the movie. I'm so sorry. Continue teasing. This is who I am, and I'm not going to tear myself down for somebody else. I have no obligation to do so. Let me guess. Down? Oh, God. Well, justified. At any rate, he's rather cute, and it is a bit fun seeing him squirm. What's the worst that can happen? I doubt it'll be anything bad, considering how much of a gentleman he is.
Oh, stop doing what, Zach, sweetie?
Touching my arm and looking at me like that.
I pause, giving him a baffled look. This is certainly the first time a man has ever complained about me being too friendly. Well, it doesn't mean that they weren't thinking it before. Nobody likes being uncomfortable or being pursued when they don't want to. Just step off, even though I'm the person who made it keep going.
I'm not doing anything wrong.
Yeah, you are if the person's expressed discomfort.
Come on now, don't be like that. It's just a bit of fun.
It's not fun if both people aren't having fun. A bit of harmless fun.
I'm sorry. It's just really uncomfortable and I don't think either of us want Mr. Wright to see us and think there's any funny business.
Oh, look at him trying to scramble to find reasons. It's so uncomfortable for him. I'm so sorry, Zach. Yes, brief acknowledgement. I'm in different clothes and stuff. I hated the gain on the microphone that I was using. I could see it, so I stopped. And now I have a new mic, because the mic's broken twice during this recording. Anyway, back to Zachary feeling very awkward and uncomfortable. It's also been over a day, so I've had to spend all that time wondering what's gonna happen next.
I'm sorry. Look, can we just... We're finished with the interview already, aren't we? Maybe it's about time I go.
Mm-hmm. I'd say so, Zach. Run.
Oh, you must be joking.
No, I'm not.
You're certainly the odd one. Don't be such a killjoy. A little bit of flirting never hurt anyone.
Clearly she doesn't watch true crime.
Other men would simply be delighted by my interest in them.
Gross.
Besides, you really are such a cutie.
He said to stop.
Well, I'm not them, Hannah. So, yeah, I'm probably odd.
I don't understand you.
Why wouldn't you want to be harassed? Who doesn't like that?
Let me put it this way. You're a pretty lady, so this must have happened to you at least once or twice. How would you feel if someone was making you uncomfortable? Only for them to refuse when you ask them to stop and they make you out to be the one that's wrong?
This isn't.
It is exactly. He's right.
This isn't the same as that.
Yes, it is. As I try to argue his point, he starts to pack the rest of his bags. This is preposterous. My main argument is, what sort of man complains about a beautiful woman being friendly with them? It seems logical in my head, but the moment I try to say it, it starts to fall apart.
Yes, it is. Unwanted advances don't make me feel macho or anything like that. I'm not here to argue morals or ethics, Miss Wright.
Morals.
I think I may be starting to overstay my welcome.
I'm sorry, Zach. I shouldn't have corrected you. I feel deflated. And things were going so smoothly, too. I ended up pushing too hard just when I might have found myself a good friend. I'm not sure if I feel awful because I'm not getting what I want, or because I was just compared to the pigs I so despise.
You're not even going to let me apologize.
You're not a bad person, Hannah. Just...
Because I really am sorry.
people won't always be how you want them to be. And apology accepted. But I really do need to go. A friend of mine is expecting me, and it's getting late.
Will you visit again? I will be asking for copies of those photographs.
Yeah, sure. I'll make you a copy.
That would be much appreciated. I'll ask Johannes to see you out.
I feel sick to my stomach as I watch Zachary leave. It is silly to be upset over a falling out with a man who was only a few hours ago a complete stranger to me. That doesn't excuse my boorish behavior at all, and it doesn't make the ill feeling any better. Idling about, I stare off into space, unsure of how I feel. And I stay a good while just standing there until the sun sets on the horizon. Disheartened, I proceed back into the mansion for supper. I can't wait to go back into my haunted house with my uninterested and alcoholic husband. Oh, it's awful. It's awful at night. Entering the dining hall causes me so much confusion. It is dark. For a moment I thought the electric work is not up to par. But that clearly is not the case, as every other room is bright with artificial light. Can't go anywhere, can't do anything in this house, my God. Finding the light switch is a monumental task, considering the size and my unfamiliarity with the room. To make matters worse, the darkness grants the room a different atmosphere, eerie and frightening. It takes longer than I thought to find the switch, something that will have to be rectified later on. My skin starts to prickle and there is a distinct feeling of being watched. Oh, are there any mirrors in this room? Any mirror paintings? Just to jack me up, personally. It unsettles me and only spurs me on in my search. And when I do open the lights, there's a hiss.
I'll turn the lights down, woman!
Why is it green? Is it absinthe? Luke! There at the end of the hall is my beloved husband with his face in one hand and a glass in the other. Perhaps I can let go if it's only one glass of wine. However, I can feel myself go livid after seeing the toxic green liquid gleam mockingly at me. It is! Ah, I know my green drinks.
Luke, what? Are you drinking absinthe?
I called it. I feel good about myself.
You know what the doctor said. Absinthe, Luke.
That's strong. It's like, how big is that glass?
Are you actively trying to kill yourself?
Maybe. We don't know anything about Luke.
Because if you are, we can just hit you with a bloody car.
Oh.
Honeybee, Buttercup, not too loud, please. Besides, it's Lelouch, not too strong. Just hair of the dog that bit me. Helps with the hangover, dearest.
You drank? When?
This morning, love. Don't be mad. I just needed a few drinks, having to deal with those simpletons.
Is anybody gonna get Luke the help he really clearly needs?
And maybe I had one too much. You don't see me whinging about you leaving me to handle them on my own.
Don't try and spin around. I see the deflecting happening here.
I had to attend the photo shoot and interview with Luxury Living. You know that. Let's not make this about me, Luke. This is about you and your drinking problem and...
Oh no, she said he had a problem. He's not gonna like that.
Oh, I don't know, Hannah, darling. What if my drinking problem, as you like to call it, is linked to you? If we think about it that way, this discussion is about you. That was pretty mean of you, leaving me alone to do all the work like that. You can't use the interview as an excuse either, honey. I was informed the moment your little interview was done. So, what was it then, What were you doing?
What's it gonna be? Should I tell the truth or tell a little lie? Okay, so... I mean, this can go wrong either way. And I feel like if we say tending the gardens, then we're trying to like placate him and talk him down. And I don't really feel like doing that. But because Hannah is the way she is, she's gonna say Zachary and then make it sound like, ooh. But you know what? Honesty. Honesty in this already failing marriage.
I was talking with Zachary, the photographer for luxury living.
I have no reason to tell lies. It's not like I'm guilty of anything. But as Luke's expression turns, he makes me feel like I actually am to blame for something. He has a way of making me laid bare with just a look. That had really struck me when we first met years ago.
That giant Negro?
Oh!
You were having a secret meeting behind my back and it was with him?
Luke!
What are you implying?
Luke, go to your room.
I'm implying nothing. I'm just worried. You know better than to trust those media types, Buttercup.
Listen, you take your drunk racism to bed.
He must have been really friendly to occupy your time like that.
Zach is nice. So far, he's like the nicest person, him and Marianne.
But all he's looking for is his next big headline.
He's a photographer for an interior design magazine.
Doesn't matter. You let one little thing slip, one wrong move, and it'll blow up in the telly in the morning. He'll go to his journalist friends to gossip and make a quick quid.
His eyes were the first thing I noticed about him. They were like nature, the green in the trees wonderful and breathtaking. Now as I look at him, they're nothing but the same shade of green as the bloody damn drink in his hand.
He was a perfect gentleman, Luke.
Unlike you.
I can't say the same for you as of recent.
Oh.
Excuse me again? We're talking about you, Hannah.
No. I am pretty sure we were talking about you and your drinking problem, Luke, right?
Hangover forgotten during the course of this little spat, the man jumps to his feet and seethes. It looks like he's barely stopping himself from throwing the nearest thing he can find.
Oh, it is not a problem. I can stop whenever I want.
Uh-huh.
And even if it was, I think you can very well stay out of it, as it only affects my own kidneys or liver or whatever the bloody hell that pollutes.
No, it's clearly affected this entire relationship. This is awful and toxic.
Whatever aftermath that occurs because of your little chit-chat with the Negro affects the both of us, however.
You need to watch Bleu Foncé.
Look, Luke, nothing will happen. You have to relax. It was just a friendly chat.
Well, now I think I'm getting jealous.
But with how he is, I swear, if we had said the gardens, it would have just been like, oh, rather be outside than talk to me.
Or I would be if it weren't for this damn headache.
Maybe you should drink more.
Maybe.
Supper spent in silence with nothing but the occasional sound of silverware. A grand feast has been served, well, grander than usual anyway, most likely due to Luke's complaints of stress. A platter of native oysters for starters, and tranche of turbot with purple sprouting, broccoli, lemon, capers, and anchovy sauce for mains. To finish it all off, black tea and golden syrup sponge pudding with custard. But when our appetites are appeased and the plates are cleared away, Luke stands, kisses me goodnight, and leaves me to stare at my half-empty cup. Lonely in the lull of night, I sit in a house too big and too empty, foreign and unwelcoming. Even with its warm tone and homely decor, it feels cold. There's no need for tears, however. I know I can get through this like every other obstacle I've faced before. This is a minor setback, and what I hope will be a long and happy life. To remind myself that this place is for Luke and for our future children fills me with a renewed vigor. You still want to have children with this man? Oh, Hannah. Besides, it looks like someone is having a cry already. Oh my god. The wailing is far away and muffled. The ghost is crying. Yet at the same time, it shakes me to my very core as I hear it. As if the suffering is just standing right beside me. It is, oh god. Hearing it sends a chill down my spine and makes my skin prickle with goosebumps. It's beside her, isn't it? Who is that? Oh, don't go down there. Curiosity sinks in as I follow the sorrowful sound into the kitchen. And into the wine cellar hatch. I knew it. I knew nothing good would come of this hatch.
Hello? Is anybody down there?
I'm curious and concerned, but there's no way I'm going down to the dark and humid underground. I'm not as enthusiastic as Luke, who considers himself quite the connoisseur. However, I also cannot bring myself to go to bed with this racket going on. If it is one of the household help, they will surely need some talking. After all, this wouldn't be the first time I've gone and found one of the maids sobbing their eyes out over one thing or another, probably Luke. As professional as our staff are, they're still human. More often than not, it was either Johannes or I who'd calm them down, who'd help them figure out how to go on about things. Unfortunately, I'm not in high spirits right now, so I'm not as wholly benevolent. So I will... open the hatch or call them out. I think I know what I'm gonna do, but I also think I'm gonna wrap this one up for now. Then we'll come back and we're gonna see the choice that I made. But see if you can guess what I'm gonna do and leave it down below. Let me know what you think of Hannah and Luke and all of the madness that went down this episode and how your feelings are about the characters as this evolves. I will catch you again soon, back soon with this hatch situation.